Every time I come off the idea of making Chaos Cinema a Star Trek channel, just period, solo, because you guys, you come to bat when we put Trek content up, and then I go try to do other stuff. Anyway, it's kind of crazy when you stop and think about this. Star Trek fans have been spending years wondering what happened to one specific project, and unlike a lot of rumors that turn out to be fake, this one, it was real, it was written, it was planned. It had one of the most respected names in Star Trek history attached to it, and for a while it looked like we were actually going to get a live-action Khan series. Not another Enterprise show, not another captain. We don't need another crew exploring the final frontier. An actual Khan series. And what's wild is if you ask most Trek fans right now, a lot of them don't even know that this existed. And I'm going to put this out there and manifest it into the ethos, and maybe Paramount will see it and make this thing happen. Now, when people talk about canceled Trek projects, which we do all the time, they jump straight over to Quentin Tarantino's movie, the various versions of Star Trek 4 that never happened, or the countless movie reboots that Paramount, well, they just keep announcing, and then they quietly shelve them. But this Khan project may actually be one of the most fascinating stories because it wasn't just another idea floating around Hollywood. It was actually being developed by Nicholas Meyer, the man responsible for the Wrath of Khan itself. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. I read every single comment on every single video. Today, I'm going to tell you what we almost got. And my goal is to make you thoroughly pissed off by the end of this video because we didn't get it. And maybe we can all put our energy into making this thing become a reality. Now, if you're going to revisit arguably the greatest villain in Star Trek history, don't argue with me, you know it's true, who better to do that than the guy who helped create the version of Khan that we all remember? And yet somehow, after years of development, studio discussions, all the delays, and the corporate drama, the project transformed into something completely different. It actually happened, but the way it happened, you're not going to be happy about. I'm going to dig into what happened. Now, the real story starts back in 2017. Now, at the time, Trek was entering a new era. Discovery was launching, CBS All Access was trying to become a major streaming platform, and Paramount and CBS were dealing with their complicated relationships. Executives, they were looking for ways to expand the franchise beyond traditional television. Then, Nicholas Meyer rolls in, and he starts teasing a secret Star Trek project. People go crazy. It wasn't some random producer making vague comments. This was the director and writer behind The Wrath of Khan. If he was coming back to Trek, we were all going to pay attention. So over the next year, details, they slowly leaked out. Meyer eventually revealed he had been hired to write what he described as a Star Trek-related trilogy for CBS All Access. It wasn't a movie, it wasn't a full multi-season show. It was a trilogy, so 3 episodes, 3 parts, and almost immediately, everybody started speculating Khan. I mean, that was one giant unexplored chapter sitting right in the middle of Star Trek history. What happened on SETI Alpha 5? Think about it. In the original Trek episode, Space Seed, Kirk defeats Khan, leaves him there, leaves his followers. They're all on the planet so they can go build their new civilization. Then years later, we meet Khan again in The Wrath of Khan, and he's, well, completely different. He is now a bitter, broken man. He's consumed by revenge. He lost all his people. He watched his world collapse. And somehow one of the greatest villains in science fiction history, if you ask me, was created almost entirely off screen. So fans knew the broad strokes there. We knew a neighboring planet exploded. We all knew the ecosystem was destroyed. We knew Khan's people suffered. We also knew that Marla McGivers died. But we didn't see it happen. This is where the series was supposed to come in. And the more you think about it, it's actually really compelling. It wouldn't have been in a... Well, it wasn't originally supposed to be a story about an evil dictator kind of twirling his mustache or plotting revenge. This was going to be about Khan's transformation. So just close your eyes and imagine the first episode. Khan arrives on SETI Alpha 5. I mean, he's still charismatic. He's confident. He's leading the genetically engineered superhumans. He genuinely believes he can build something extraordinary. In his own mind, he's not a villain. He's actually the visionary. But then things go bad, right? Everything goes wrong. The planet changes, all the resources dry up, people start dying, the relationships collapse, and that's where the pressure mounts. And over nearly 20 years, we would watch Khan slowly become the man obsessed with revenge that Ricardo portrayed in The Wrath of Khan. I don't think that's a villain story at all. I call that a straight-up Trek tragedy. That's why people were excited. It wasn't because we wanted another Trek action show. We wanted to see one of Star Trek's greatest characters get the kind of prestige treatment modern television is known for. So think about it. High production value. We got a harsh alien world. Political kind of infighting among the augments. We would have watched the destruction of the colony. We would have. I mean, a planet literally becoming uninhabitable, but they're inhabiting it. At the center of it, Khan's literally trying to hold it all together while simultaneously becoming the very thing that he once claimed he wasn't. So around the same time, the CBS and Viacom merger situation became really, really messy. Corporate restructuring, they started creating uncertainty around multiple projects, budgets were constantly changing, and priorities were shifting. Streaming strategies were evolving almost in real time. And then this three-part Khan series, well, it kind of found itself in a strange position. It wasn't a full television series. We weren't going for a movie. It was a hybrid, and they didn't like that. From a business perspective, spending tens of millions of dollars on a 3-episode event isn't really attractive to a streaming service that wants subscribers to binge month after month, right? A 3-hour prestige miniseries sounds amazing to you and me, but to the suits, it was a much harder sell, especially when Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Section 31, Starfleet Academy, all those other projects were competing for the resources. So years passed, and then nothing. And you guys kind of know how these things go. First, we're kind of patient, then we're getting nervous, then we assume it's completely dead, then every few months somebody leaks something, talks about it, and we just go through this cycle. Eventually, the project became one of the most Star Trek mysteries people weren't even sure existed. But here is the really compelling part. It didn't die. It evolved, or de-evolved. I mean, instead of disappearing, Paramount found another way to tell that story. So in 2022, they officially announced Star Trek Khan Ceti Alpha 5 as a scripted audio drama. Slap me in the face here. I remember seeing the reaction. Some fans were excited, others were pissed off. But let's be honest, when people hear Khan series, they imagine a massive television event, not a freaking podcast. But from Paramount's perspective, it made sense. Audio removes almost every budget limitation. You don't need massive visual effects, giant sets, expensive location shoots. You don't need to create an alien planet. You can focus entirely on the storytelling. That's what happened. The project expanded beyond the original 3-part concept and eventually became a 9-episode audio series. So instead of rushing through Khan's journey, they did get to explore it in detail. All of it. I guess that's good, right? And when the cast was announced, it became clear Paramount wasn't treating it like a throwaway side project. They brought in Andrews as Khan. They brought in Schmidt as Marla. They even included George and Tim in the framing of the story. It wasn't a fan project. It was official Trek canon. But that's kind of where things get interesting moving forward, because now we have this question we have to ask. Is this the end of the road, or is this chapter 1? I mean, I don't think a live-action version is completely impossible. In fact, I think the existence of this audio drama actually makes it more likely than before, because now the story exists. It's already there, right? The structure, the characters, the world building, it's already done. So if they ever wanted to revisit Khan in live action, they're not starting from scratch. They would be adapting something that's been tested. I guess that's the million-dollar question. Will it happen? I think it depends entirely on how Paramount views legacy Star Trek content over the next few years. And we know that they are completely confused on all fronts. If Strange New Worlds continue succeeding, and if an audiences continue showing interest in classic era characters, then Khan's attractive, especially when you consider how recognizable that character still is. Even people who don't, they're not hardcore Trek fans, they know Khan. That's pretty rare. That's pretty valuable. So my guess is it's not completely dead, but we don't know what Paramount's going to do. It's like they throw stuff at a dartboard and then we see what happens, right? A live-action event exploring the missing chapter between Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan? Come on. I think we can all agree it would be amazing. If anything happens to change, I'll let you guys know. And what other Trek content do you want to see on the channel? I'll see you soon.